Hello there, and welcome. I'm very glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe you have had a long day. Maybe your thoughts have been moving through too many rooms, too many little corridors of worry, too many unfinished paths. Or maybe you are here because there is something strangely comforting about Hallownest, even though it is ruined. Something about its rain, its old roads, its empty houses, its silent stations and its deep places makes the loneliness feel gentle when it's spoken softly enough. So tonight, you can settle in. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your breathing slow. Let the room around you become less demanding. You do not need to fight through the city of tears tonight. You do not need to find every hidden wall, unlock every station, remember every route through Deepnest, or carry any fragile flower across a kingdom that was never kind to fragile things. Tonight, we're only going to drift through one question, slowly and peacefully. Why does Hallownest feel so empty? Not simply because it is ruined, not simply because many of its people are dead or infected. Those things are true, and they matter. But the emptiness of Hallownest is deeper than absence. It is not only that the kingdom has fewer voices than it should, it is that everywhere you go, the world still remembers what it was built to hold. Roads remember travellers, stations remember bells, houses remember families, benches remember rest, the city remembers crowds, the temple remembers worship, the abyss remembers children. Even the silence has a shape, because it is silence where something once belonged. That is the feeling we are going to follow tonight. We will move gently from Dirtmouth down into the old roads, through the crossroads, the city, the stations, the waterways, the gardens, the hive, the cliffs, the basin, and finally toward the deepest dark beneath the kingdom. We will stay with the confirmed shape of Hallownest, and where the kingdom leaves only suggestion, we will let it remain suggestion. No need to force mystery into certainty. No need to make the quiet speak louder than it wants to. Before we begin, if this helps you rest, you can leave a like so another tired wanderer might find it too. And if you feel like commenting, tell me where you're listening from tonight. It is comforting to imagine many small rooms, many low lights, many listeners breathing slowly while the old kingdom sleeps below. Now, breathe in and breathe out. Dirtmouth is quiet. The well is open. The wind moves over the cliffs. Let us begin above the kingdom, in the fading town. Dirtmouth feels empty before the night ever descends into Hallownest. That is important. The loneliness begins on the surface, not deep underground. The town is not destroyed in a dramatic way. It is not burning. It is not filled with enemies. It is simply almost abandoned. Houses stand boarded and unused. The old stag station is silent. The well waits in the centre of town like a dark mouth. Elderbug remains, kind and worried, the oldest remaining resident, watching travellers come and go with the quiet knowledge that many who descend do not return. That is one reason the emptiness of Hallownest works so well. It begins as social emptiness. Dirtmouth is not a battlefield. It is a town after people have left it, one by one, pulled downward by the promise of wealth, glory, enlightenment, or simple curiosity. Elderbug says in his gentle way that the other residents went down into the caverns below. That single idea makes the well feel different. It is not only an entrance, it is a drain, a place where a town slowly lost its people. Dirtmouth also feels empty because it has room for more life than it contains. As the journey continues, some figures return or arrive. Sly, Bretta, Iselda, the Grim Troop if called, perhaps others depending on the path. But the town never becomes crowded. Its emptiness is not erased by a few lights turning on. If anything, each new arrival makes the empty houses more noticeable. Dirtmouth feels like a place that once knew ordinary movement and now survives on traces. The old access to King's Pass is broken and barred. The bridge is gone. The route that once made travel easier has collapsed. This matters because emptiness is often created by broken connection. Dirtmouth was once a resting place for travellers moving toward Hallownest. When entry to the kingdom was forbidden after the Great Calamity, and when old routes failed, the town became less a gateway and more a ledge. It remains above the kingdom, but it no longer belongs to a living flow of arrival and departure. The old stag station in Dirtmouth is especially sad because it is locked from the inside until the underground network is reopened. A station is built for movement, but this one has become still. The bell is there. The room is there. The rails of memory are there. But no one comes until the night begins waking the stagways again from below. Dirtmouth Station is like a throat that forgot how to call. Elderbug makes the town feel less empty and more empty at the same time. He gives it warmth. He greets the night. He notices changes. He worries about strangers and strange tents. He is ordinary and gentle, and because he is there, the absence around him becomes sharper. A completely empty town would feel dead. Dirtmouth feels lonely because someone remains to feel the loneliness. That is one of Hallownest's quietest emotional rules. Absolute absence can become abstract. But one surviving witness makes emptiness personal. Elderbug stands near the well, and because of him, every boarded house feels like a missing neighbour. When the night drops into the forgotten crossroads, the emptiness changes shape. The crossroads are not empty in the sense of having no bodies. They are full of husks, crawlids, vengeflies, guards, and infected remains. But they feel empty because so many of those bodies are not truly present as people. They move, patrol, attack, and continue old habits, but the selves that once filled those forms are gone or buried under infection. A husk guard is still guarding. A husk miner is still connected to work. A wandering husk still wanders. The names preserve roles after personhood has faded. This is a very specific kind of emptiness. Function without life. The kingdom has not gone silent because everything stopped. It has gone silent because too many things are still moving without meaning. Hallownest is full of guards without a kingdom to guard, miners without a sane society to work for, pilgrims without a living pilgrimage, and machines without a public to serve. The horror is not only death, it is continuation after purpose has hollowed out. The forgotten crossroads also feel empty because they are built like a public place. Paths branch in many directions. Signs point to Dirtmouth, the city, the stag station, the ancestral mound, and other regions. The area feels like it once carried traffic. It was not a sealed tomb. It was a crossing point, a lower road system, a place where many travellers would have passed through on the way to greater destinations. That is why its abandonment feels so strong. The architecture implies crowds, but the rooms contain husks. The Temple of the Black Egg sits in the crossroads from the beginning, sealed and silent. It is one of the most important places in the entire kingdom, yet early on it is almost unreadable. That too creates emptiness. The temple is present, but its meaning is absent from the wanderer's understanding. The door is closed. The masks are there. The air is heavy. It feels important before the story explains why. Hallownest often makes places feel empty by withholding the context that once filled them. Later, when the crossroads become infected more visibly, the emptiness becomes more painful because it corrupts familiarity. A place that once felt like the beginning becomes swollen with orange growth, more dangerous, more unstable. This change makes Hallownest feel less like a static ruin and more like a dying organism. The kingdom is not only empty, it is still decaying. Even the first roads cannot remain safely remembered. The ancestral mound adds another layer. It is an old place connected to snail shaman magic, hidden near the crossroads. The knight receives vengeful spirit there from a shaman who becomes part of the journey's earliest magic. The mound feels ancient, quiet, and almost buried under the later kingdom. It reminds us that Hallownest's emptiness is layered. Some places feel empty because the recent civilization fell. Others feel empty because older traditions are already nearly gone. This is one reason the world feels so deep. Hallownest is not one ruin. It is ruins over ruins, memories over memories. The Pale King's civilization is empty. Older powers are diminished. Local tribes remain only in pieces. Even magic feels like something inherited from half-lost teachers in hidden rooms. Greenpath feels less empty at first because it is alive with moss, water, acid, leaves, and movement. But Greenpath's emptiness is different. It is the emptiness of an older dream partly overtaken. The region once belonged to the Mosskin, and to the dreaming presence of Unna before the Pale King's order reached into it. Now it is beautiful, but wounded. Some Mosskin remain tied to the green world, others are infected. The paths are lush, but the old wholeness is gone. Greenpath shows that emptiness does not always look barren. Sometimes a place can be full of growth and still feel abandoned by its original meaning. Leaves can cover loss. Water can keep moving through a wounded place. The green world remains, but it no longer feels complete. The night travels through beauty that cannot entirely protect itself. Hornet's first appearance in Greenpath makes the emptiness feel watched. She is not a random wanderer. She is a guardian, a child of Hera and the Pale King, a living thread between Deepnest and the royal tragedy. When she moves ahead of the night, she makes the kingdom feel less empty for a moment, because someone knows more than we do. But she also makes it feel lonelier, because her knowledge is isolated. She moves alone through a ruined world, testing a silent sibling-like vessel to see whether it can carry what waits below. Fungal wastes feels populated in a strange way. The mushrooms bounce, breathe, and communicate through their own odd rhythm. Mantis Village is disciplined and very much alive compared with many regions. Yet the area still feels empty because it sits between powers rather than belonging fully to one. It is a borderland between Greenpath, the city, Deepnest, and the Mantis' own lore. Travellers once passed through toward the capital. The Pilgrim's Way guided movement toward the city at the kingdom's heart. Now the signs remain, but the great current of pilgrimage has stopped. The old tablets promising the path to the city are important, because they turn emptiness into broken expectation. Travellers were told to descend through wilds and fungal groves toward the city, where wishes would be granted and truths revealed. That promise lingers in stone, but the city is ruined. The truths are not comforting. The wishes are not granted in any ordinary way. Hallownest feels empty, because its old promises are still written down after the world that made them credible has failed. Mantis Village is one of the least empty places emotionally because its culture remains. The Mantises have law, hierarchy, ritual, combat and discipline. After the knight defeats the Mantis lords, the tribe recognizes strength and stops attacking. This is not emptiness, this is social order. And because it exists, it throws the rest of Hallownest into sharper contrast. The Mantises prove that not every group had to become husks. Some minds held, some laws survived. Hallownest's emptiness is therefore not inevitable background. It is a specific collapse seen more clearly beside those who resisted. The traitor lord and his followers show the cost of that survival. The Mantis tribe stayed whole by casting out those who accepted the infection's strength. So even one of the most intact societies in the kingdom carries absence. A brother is missing from the throne. A faction is gone. A daughter lies buried in Queen's Gardens. The village is disciplined, but not unwounded. Its fullness is built around an exile. Deepness feels crowded with danger, but empty of trust. That is an important difference. Deepness has inhabitants, traps, beasts, distant villagers, weavers' remnants, and hidden spaces. It is not physically empty, yet it feels profoundly lonely because its social signals are unreliable. A bench becomes a trap, a village becomes a feeding place, a familiar shape becomes Nosk. The darkness does not only hide enemies, it removes the comfort of knowing what a room means. Deepness was never simply part of Hallownest in the same way the city was. Hera ruled there. The Spider tribe remained separate from the Pale King's order. The failed tramway shows royal infrastructure trying and failing to impose connection into that dark region. The bodies and wreckage left behind make the emptiness feel political. It is not just that the tram broke, it is that a system of connection reached into a resistant place and was destroyed. The Weaver's Den is one of the clearest examples of absence as departure rather than death. Weaver Song tells us the Weavers left Hallownest for their old home. That means the den is empty because its people went elsewhere. The little weaverling summoned by the charm are charming, but the charm itself is also a farewell. Some emptiness in Hallownest comes from those who died. Some comes from those who fled. The world does not always distinguish the ache. Nosk's lair feels empty in a more personal way. It is full of bodies, but the body it uses to lure the knight is the knight's own shape. In a world of abandoned siblings and vessel masks, that imitation feels like the kingdom turning loneliness against itself. Nosk makes the knight follow a false version of itself into the dark. The emptiness here is identity emptiness, the fear that a familiar form may have no familiar soul inside it. The City of Tears is the heart of Hallownest's emptiness. It is not a small ruin, it is a capital. It has towers, elevators, windows, wealthy districts, poorer districts, storerooms, pleasure rooms, sanctums, stations, a memorial fountain, and the Watcher's Spire. It was built to be looked at, moved through, lived in, traded in, ruled from, and admired. Now its scale makes the absence enormous. A small hut can be empty quietly. A capital is empty loudly, even when it rains softly. The rain itself deepens the feeling. The city is built under the blue lake, and water leaks down through the cavern ceiling, giving the capital its name. The sadness of the city is therefore physical. It is not only mood, it is geography. The lake above becomes rain below. The city seems to weep because the world is built that way. That is part of why it feels so convincing. Hallownest's melancholy is not pasted onto the surface. It is engineered into stone, water, and distance. The city also feels empty because it still has signs of class and society. The eastern side once housed high society, with richer interiors and more luxurious spaces. The western side feels plainer, more work-like, with the nailsmith, storerooms, and the soul sanctum. These divisions remain after death. The city is not just empty of people, it is still full of social structure without the society. Wealth and poverty remain as architecture after the lives inside them are gone. The memorial fountain to the Hollow Knight is one of the most painful empty objects in the city. It gives a public story, the Hollow Knight as saviour, honoured at the centre of the capital. But the private truth is hidden in the abyss and the black egg. The monument fills public space with meaning, but that meaning is incomplete. Hallownest feels empty because even its memorials do not contain the whole truth. They are full of official memory and empty of confession. Relic seeker Lem's shop adds another kind of emptiness. He studies relics of the kingdom, buying wanderers' journals, Hallownest seals, king's idols, and arcane eggs. Through him, we feel that the past is still present, but only as objects. A journal without its writer, a seal without its institution, an idol without its worshippers, an egg from an older civilization whose full meaning is lost. Lem's room is full of history, and that is precisely why it feels lonely. This soul sanctum is not empty of activity. It is full of hostile scholars, mistakes, and the lingering ambition of the soul master, but it feels empty of ethics. It is a place where knowledge remained after wisdom failed. The scholars sought soul, perhaps in response to the kingdom's crisis, but the result became cruelty and distortion. That gives the sanctum a hollow intellectual feeling, thought without compassion, research without restraint, power without healing. The watcher's spire feels empty because watching outlasted what it watched. Lurien sleeps above the city, one of the dreamers sealing the black egg. His tower is high, guarded, and full of stillness. The Watcher Knights are empty armours animated for duty, and Lurien himself is locked in eternal sleep. The whole spire is vigilance without ordinary life. It watches a city that has already fallen. The pleasure house is one of the strangest empty places because it preserves luxury and performance after the audience is gone. Marissa's ghost sings to an empty room. Millabelle hides there with stolen Geo. A hot spring waits inside a place built for pleasure, not survival. The room feels decadent and mournful at once. Music remains, but the society that heard it is gone. Comfort remains, but it is hidden behind locked doors and old wealth. Marissa's song is important because it proves emptiness can have sound. The room is not silent. It is empty because the song has no living audience. This is one of Hallownest's great emotional tricks. A place can be noisy and still lonely. A song can make absence sharper by reminding us how many ears are missing. The King's Station is another powerful example. It should be a major transit point, the Grand Eastern Station of the capital. Instead, it is filled with silence, husks, and the feeling of interrupted travel. The station's scale implies movement between city and kingdom, but the trains of life are gone. When the stag bell rings again, it feels like a small miracle, not because the station is restored to its former glory, but because one living connection answers. The stagways across Hallownest may be the clearest image of useful emptiness. The tunnels still exist. The stations still exist. Bells can still be rung. The last stag still comes, but he believes he may be the last of his kind. Every ride is warm because he is alive, and sad because the network was made for far more than one passenger and one old carrier. When enough stations are opened and the stag nest is found, the emptiness changes. The nest is littered with bodies, but there is also a hatched egg, a sign of hope that the stags may not be gone forever. This matters because Hallownest does not make emptiness absolute. It allows tiny reversals. The last stag can become the old stag. A name can soften when hope enters it. The network is still mostly empty, but not entirely hopeless. The trams feel colder than the stagways because no living voice answers from within them. The tram pass activates machinery. The tram moves. It carries the night through Deepnest, Ancient Basin, and Kingdom's Edge. But the feeling is mechanical, impersonal, and hollow. Stags remember. Trams operate. Both are forms of connection, but one feels like memory and the other like infrastructure continuing after its passengers disappeared. Toll machines create a similar feeling. They still accept geo. They still open benches, gates, lifts and stations. But no living authority stands beside them. No city official collects payment. No worker maintains the exchange in an ordinary social way. The machine simply continues. This is one of the quiet reasons Hallownest feels empty. Its systems still function without society. The old kingdom has become automatic. Benches are the opposite of toll machines in feeling, but they still deepen emptiness. A bench is safety, rest, and pause. But it is also often placed in a room that implies someone made it for travellers who no longer come. Sitting on a bench can feel like borrowing comfort from the dead. The night rests where others once rested. The music softens, the map opens. For a moment the kingdom is kind. Then the night stands and the silence returns. Hot springs are even gentler. They heal without asking anything. They are little pockets of warmth in places that often feel abandoned. But their kindness also makes the surrounding emptiness sharper. A hot spring in an empty station or deep passage feels like the last working mercy of a world that otherwise failed. It does not restore the kingdom. It restores one small body at a time. Crystal Peak feels empty because labour continues without workers being fully themselves. The miners still strike crystals, machinery still turns, crystals still glow and store energy. The region shines with industrial beauty, but the minds inside it are compromised by infection. Work remains after personhood has faded. That is a deeply modern kind of emptiness, even in a bug kingdom. Labour without self, production without community, brightness without joy. Myla makes Crystal Peak's emptiness personal. She begins as a cheerful miner, singing near the entrance, speaking kindly. As the infection progresses, her song changes. Then she becomes hostile. The mind does not need to be empty of bodies to feel empty of life. It only needs one song to vanish. Myla's loss makes every other miner's repeated labour feel heavier. Hallownest's crown, high above Crystal Peak, carries a different emptiness. There, a statue of the Radiance remains, a remnant of forgotten worship. The Pale King replaced her in the hearts of the Moth tribe, but memory lingered. The statue stands in a high, quiet place, above mines and machinery. It feels like a forgotten altar at the top of an industrial mountain. The worshippers are gone. The god is not gone. That imbalance haunts the kingdom. The resting grounds are empty in the way a graveyard is empty, full of presence, but not of life. There are graves, spirits, the seer, the dream nail, the blue lake nearby, and the sense that memory has settled into the stone. The resting grounds are not abandoned in a simple way. They are occupied by what remains after life. The emptiness there is respectful, almost sacred, but still heavy. It is a place where voices linger because bodies cannot. The seer makes the resting grounds feel like the last room of an entire people. She is the last surviving member of the Moth tribe, the tribe that once worshipped the radiance before turning toward the Pale King. Her presence carries the weight of cultural emptiness. Not just one person gone, but a people reduced to one old witness, one ritual of essence, one final release into light. The dream nail changes how emptiness works. Before it, silence might seem like absence. After it, silence becomes crowded with hidden thoughts. Spirits speak, corpses whisper, enemies reveal brief inner fragments. The kingdom becomes less empty in one sense, because so many echoes are still there. But it becomes more empty in another, because those echoes reveal how much is no longer alive in ordinary time. The spirit's glade embodies that uncertainty. It is peaceful, full of lingering spirits, guarded by Revek. It can feel like a sanctuary, but also like a place where the dead have not fully moved on. The dream nail can release or absorb those spirits, depending on how one reads the act. Hallownest does not make the answer simple. It lets the glade remain quiet and uneasy. The blue lake is not empty in appearance. It is a broad, still body of water, calm and beautiful. But when Quirrell sits beside it after fulfilling Monomen's purpose, the lake becomes a place of farewell. His nail remains afterward. The lake does not explain. It does not confirm every detail, it simply holds stillness. That is another kind of emptiness, an answer withheld because silence is more truthful than certainty. Fog Canyon feels empty because it is difficult to read. Its charged lumaflies, acid pools, translucent creatures, and the hidden teacher's archives create a world that is alive but strangely impersonal. The archives are full of knowledge, yet Monomon sleeps. Umu guards, but does not speak in an ordinary way. Quirrell must return with the must to let the old protection end. Knowledge remains, but the teacher is unreachable until the moment of release. This is a recurring pattern. Hallownest's institutions still exist, but their central figures are sleeping, dead, hidden, infected, or transformed. The teacher sleeps, the watcher sleeps, the beast sleeps, the king is gone, the queen is hidden, the hollow night is sealed, the radiance is trapped and dreaming. Leadership in Hallownest is almost always absent, unreachable or catastrophic. The kingdom feels empty because power has withdrawn into sleep, death, or prison. Queen's Gardens feel empty through overgrowth. They are not barren. They are full of thorns, mantis traitors, platforms, roots, and danger. But they feel like a royal garden after its queen has left it to defend itself. The White Lady is hidden away, bound among roots. Drya's body lies near her chamber, suggesting a final defence. The garden remains beautiful, but its beauty is sharp. It is a place that once belonged to care, fertility, and royalty, now crossed by pain. The traitor's child's grave adds one of the most personal absences in the gardens. Zima's delicate flower journey leads there, carrying love to someone whose life was caught between tribe, exile, and rejection. The grave makes the gardens feel empty of a future that might have been. A love story is present only as mourning. A flower arrives too late, but not meaninglessly. The White Lady herself makes emptiness maternal. She is present, but self-bound. She speaks, but from restraint. She is mother to the vessels, yet countless children lie in the abyss. Her chamber is not empty, but it is full of absence. Absent king, absent children, absent kingdom, absent forgiveness. She is one of the clearest examples that being alive does not mean a place is full. The ancient basin feels empty because it is low, quiet, and close to the kingdom's concealed guilt. The palace grounds are pale and abandoned. The station is broken. Broken vessel waits as an infected shell. The path to the abyss lies below. There is less ordinary architecture here, less social decoration. The basin feels like the underside of the kingdom, a place where the grand story thins out and the truth begins to show through. Broken vessel makes the emptiness of the vessel plan visible before the abyss fully explains it. A shell, like the night's, filled by infection, moving without its own freedom. Later, Lostkin gives the same body a more intimate name in Dream. Broken vessel is condition. Lostkin is relationship. Hallownest feels empty because it is full of siblings who were never allowed to become people. The abyss is the deepest emptiness, but it is not empty of bodies. That is what makes it unbearable. It is full of shells, full of masks, full of siblings, full of void, full of what the Pale King's plan discarded. It is empty of childhood, empty of names, empty of the lives those vessels never had. The abyss shows that emptiness can be overcrowded. A pit can be full and still be the loneliest place in the world. The birthplace memory makes this emptiness personal. The night sees the climb, the chosen vessel, the Pale King, and the siblings left below. The silence of that memory is devastating. No long explanation is needed. The image of one child taken upward while countless others remain below explains why Hallownest feels empty at its core. The kingdom's solution was built on absence made deliberate. Void itself is an old darkness beneath the Pale King's order. It existed before the vessel plan. The king used it, shaped it, contained it, and built constructs with it, but he did not create its depth. This makes Hallownest feel empty in an ancient way too. Beneath the failed civilization is something older, darker, and less personal than royal guilt. The kingdom is built over a silence it never fully understood. The lighthouse in the abyss adds one of the most haunting images of maintained emptiness. A beam holds back the sea of void. The keeper is dead. The light still matters. Turning it off allows the night to receive the shade cloak. The symbol is strange and powerful. To grow deeper into the truth, the night must extinguish the light that restrained the dark. In the abyss, safety and suppression look almost the same. The White Palace is empty in the opposite direction. It is bright, precise, and hidden in dream. Its hazards still move, its guards remain, its architecture is clean and royal. But the life of the palace is gone. The Pale King's body sits on the throne. The place feels like order preserved after meaning has died. If the abyss is overcrowded emptiness, the White Palace is sterile emptiness. The path of pain hides a tiny memory of the Pale King and the Hollow Knight together. That memory makes the palace feel emptier afterward, not fuller. A small connection existed, and perhaps that connection mattered terribly. The palace does not explain. It only shows enough to make silence hurt. Sometimes Hallownest feels empty because it gives one glimpse of tenderness and then closes the door. The dreamer's sleep is another form of emptiness. Monomon, Lurien and Hera are present but not awake. They are seals more than citizens now, living locks on the black egg. Their bodies or dream presences remain, but their ordinary lives are suspended forever until the night ends their sleep. Hallownest is full of beings who are there and not there. That in-between state makes the world feel haunted. Hera's sleep empties deepness of its queen. Lurian's sleep empties the city of its watcher. Monomon's sleep empties the archives of their teacher. Each dreamer leaves a region with a missing centre. The kingdom is not just empty generally. It is empty in specific offices, thrones, towers and archives where someone important should be awake. The Black Egg Temple is empty like a sealed wound. The Hollow Knight and Radiance are inside, but the entrance is locked behind masks and old sacrifice. Outside, pilgrims and husks gather. Inside, suffering waits. The temple feels empty because what matters most is inaccessible until the old seals are broken. It is presence turned into pressure. The Hollow Knight's chamber is not empty when the night finally enters it. It holds chains, infection and a suffering sibling. But the emotional emptiness is enormous. The chosen vessel was made to have no mind, no will, no voice. Whether or not that perfect hollowness was ever truly possible, the attempt itself creates a terrible absence. A child was raised to be a container instead of a person. The final prison is full of the consequences of trying to make someone empty. The Radiance makes the kingdom feel empty because she is a forgotten god who refused to stay forgotten. Her worshippers turned away. Her memory faded. The Pale King's order replaced her. But memory did not vanish harmlessly. It returned through dreams as infection. Hallownest feels empty, partly because it was built on an act of forgetting, and forgotten things in this world do not always stay quiet. The moth tribe's disappearance deepens that emptiness. The seer remains as the last surviving moth, carrying regret, ritual, and essence. When she finally dissolves into light, the resting grounds lose their last moth voice. The Radiance's old people are gone. The Pale King's kingdom is gone. The conflict between lights has left almost no one whole enough to tell the story plainly. Godhome adds a strange final kind of emptiness, the emptiness of worship seeking objects after the world has ended. The God-seekers attune to power, gathering the echoes of bosses and gods into dreamlike challenge. They seek divinity in a ruined kingdom, turning old suffering into a ladder of ascent. This does not make Hallownest feel populated. It makes even its memories feel harvested by longing. The Colosseum of Fools is empty beneath its noise. It has an audience, trials, cheers and combat. But the Lord Fool's corpse reveals a dead centre. The place continues as spectacle even after its ruler is gone. This is one of the most unsettling forms of emptiness in Hallownest. Performance without a living heart. The crowd roars and the structure is still hollow. The hive is sealed and golden, but it too feels empty because Vesper is dead. The hive knight still guards. The bees still defend their home. Hive blood still carries the feeling of collective endurance. But the Queen's absence hangs over the whole place. A society can be orderly, defended, and warm-coloured, and still be empty at its centre. The howling cliffs are empty in a borderland way. They are above and outside, littered with corpses near the wasteland, filled with wind, old paths, Joni's repose, Matto's hut, and the hidden nightmare lantern. They feel like the edge of what Hallownest can remember. The cliffs are not the heart of the kingdom. They are where things arrive, leave, or wait to be called. Wind is the sound of that edge. Joni's repose is peaceful but lonely. Blue butterflies, darkness, and the lifeblood charm create a small sacred pocket in the cliffs. It is not tied directly to the Pale King's central tragedy, yet it adds to the emptiness by suggesting other powers, other devotions, other deaths. Hallownest is not empty because it lacks mystery. It is empty because so many mysteries have no living community left around them. The grim troop, if summoned, briefly fills Dirtmouth with music, tents, and red light. But that fullness is temporary and uncanny. It does not restore the town. It makes the emptiness theatrical for a while. When the troop leaves or is banished, Dirtmouth's quiet returns. The red stage proves that something can arrive from beyond Hallownest, but it also proves how temporary arrival can be. Cornifer makes empty places feel less empty by humming in them. That is why finding him is such a relief. His maps are incomplete, but his presence says someone else has passed through this danger with curiosity rather than despair. Yet even Cornifer's work highlights emptiness. A map is useful because the roads no longer explain themselves through crowds. The night needs paper because living guidance is rare. Iselda's shop above makes that emptiness domestic. She waits in Dirtmouth, selling pins and mapping supplies, hinting at a past beyond the counter. The map shop is warm because two lives, Cornifer's and Iselda's, still make a rhythm around exploration. But that warmth is small against the boarded houses around it. A little shop cannot fill a town. Sly's shop changes Dirtmouth similarly. When he returns, the town gains commerce, voice, and small usefulness. But Sly himself had been found infected and lost in the crossroads. His return is a recovery, not proof that the town is healed. Dirtmouth gathers survivors like candles. Each one helps. None can make the darkness not have happened. Bretta's house becomes another sign of recovered life, but even that life is shaped by loneliness. She returns after being rescued, fills her room with longing, and later may shift her admiration toward Zote. Her presence makes Dirtmouth more inhabited, but also more vulnerable. The empty town gives lonely hearts too much room to dream. Zote adds noise, but not fullness. His boasting fills space with words, yet those words often feel like armor around insecurity. He can stand in Dirtmouth and make it less quiet, but not less lonely. Hallownest distinguishes between sound and company. Zote is loud, Elderbug is company. The royal waterways add another kind of emptiness, the emptiness of what a city hides below itself. Above, the City of Tears has towers, windows, memorials, and old social divisions. Below, the waterways carry waste, damp echoes, flukes, broken passages, and the laughter of Ogrim. The capital's underside is not empty, but it is removed from dignity. It is where the systems that supported the city continue in unpleasant forms. Every grand civilization has hidden maintenance, hidden filth, and hidden labour. In Hallownest, those lower systems survived as a maze of rot and memory. Ogrim makes the waterways feel less empty by being so alive. He bursts from the ground, laughs, fights, and speaks with loyalty. But his presence also deepens the loneliness. He was once one of the 5 great knights, a defender of the Pale King, companion to Zema, Drya, Isma, and Hegemol. Now he remains below the city, surrounded by refuse, still bright with old devotion. His laughter fills the room, but behind it is an absent age of heroes. The White Defender dream shows what Ogrim remembers. Bright banners, proud statues, the 5 great knights standing together, the old glory made clean and shining. That dream is not the waking world. The waking world is dung, pipes, and isolation. Hallownest feels empty because memory can be fuller than reality. Ogrim's dream has comrades. His waking room does not. Isma's grove feels empty in a gentle way. Isma is gone. But Isma's tear remains, allowing the night to pass safely through acid. The grove is quiet, green, and hidden behind the waterway's filth. It feels like kindness preserved after the kind one has vanished. The ability is practical, but its emotional shape is tender. A lost knight leaves behind passage through poison. The person is absent. The mercy remains. Dryer's body outside the White Lady's chamber is another form of emptiness. Duty completed with no one left to thank the one who kept it. She appears to have died defending her queen. There is no long speech, no battle scene, no monument, only a body at the threshold. Hallownest often gives its strongest acts of loyalty this kind of silence. They are not announced, they are found. Hedgemol's absence is felt through stolen armour. The false knight wears the shell of a great knight, but inside is a small maggot seeking strength. This makes emptiness physical. The armour is full, but the original wearer is gone. A role remains without the person who earned it. The fight becomes a hollow echo of old heroism, filled by desperation. Zima, hidden as the Grey Mourner, shows that even surviving heroes can become empty of their former life. She was once one of the 5 great knights. By the time the knight meets her, she is almost entirely shaped by grief for the traitor's child. Her old title is not gone, but it is buried under mourning. The world did not only empty its buildings, it emptied people of the lives they used to have. The delicate flower journey makes emptiness feel sacred. The flower must be carried carefully across a dangerous kingdom to a grave. The route is full of enemies, hazards, and old roads, but the purpose is not conquest. It is remembrance. That is another reason Hallownest feels so empty. So many meaningful acts happen after the ones who needed them are already dead. The flower reaches the grave. The beloved does not rise. The meaning is real anyway. The Tower of Love is one of the strangest empty places in the city. Its name suggests warmth, but inside are jars, captured creatures, and the collector's laughter. The tower is not empty of life. It is full of trapped life, yet it feels empty of true care. Love has become possession. Preservation has become imprisonment. In Hallownest, fullness can be another form of emptiness when nothing inside is free. The collector itself feels like a broken answer to loneliness. It gathers creatures, especially grubs, and stores them in glass. It laughs, leaps, and behaves with a terrible playfulness. If it is connected to void, as its body suggests, then it becomes one more dark shape trying to hold living things without understanding what life needs. The tower is full of jars, but empty of relationship. The grubs make the kingdom feel less empty because their cries are so direct. A trapped grub calls out, and the sound turns a room into a rescue. Each freed grub returns to Grubfather, filling the room with movement and happiness. For a while, that room is one of the least lonely places in Hallownest. But even there, the final image is strange. Grubfather swollen, the grubs unseen, the suggestion of metamorphosis. Hallownest rarely lets joy remain simple. Menderbug, if encountered, reveals how much ordinary work still matters in an empty kingdom. He repairs the sign near the well in the forgotten crossroads. His task is tiny compared with gods, seals, and dream battles, yet it may be one of the most poignant acts in all of Hallownest. A sign points the way, someone maintains it. Travellers may never know who did the work. If Mendabug is killed, his hidden home reveals a private life, a diary, and small affections. The kingdom's emptiness grows sharper when we realise even its smallest caretakers had homes. This is one of the secrets of Hallownest's atmosphere. The world feels empty not because it lacks detail, but because the detail points to lives that are missing. A repaired sign implies a repairer. A shop implies customers. A station implies travellers. A fountain implies public memory. A pleasure house implies audiences. A boarded home implies a family that left or died. The more specific the object, the stronger the absence around it. The hunter's journal adds another layer. The hunter records creatures through the eyes of a predator with appetite, pride, and observation. His journal makes Hallownest feel populated by species, behaviours, instincts, and roles. Yet many entries describe former citizens, infected bodies, or creatures reduced to survival. The journal fills the kingdom with classification, but classification is not companionship. Knowing a creature's habits does not make the world less lonely. The hunter himself is a living presence, but not a comforting one. He sees the world as prey and challenge. His attention preserves knowledge, yet it is sharp attention. In a kingdom where scholars failed, kings vanished, and teachers slept, the hunter's record becomes strangely valuable. Still, it is a lonely sort of record. It is not a census of a thriving society. It is a catalogue of things that can be hunted in the ruins. The Colosseum of Fools is loud, and that is why its emptiness is unsettling. There are crowds, there is cheering, there are trials. Warriors come seeking glory. But the Lord Fool's corpse reveals that the place has a dead centre. It continues as spectacle after meaning has rotted. The audience noise does not restore the kingdom. It becomes another system that keeps running because enough creatures still gather around violence. Hallownest can feel empty even when it is loud, because noise without care is not fullness. Tizo's fate deepens that feeling. He seeks the Colosseum, eager for combat and recognition, but later his body lies among the corpses in Kingdom's Edge. His ambition is swallowed by the place that promised glory. In Hallownest, even dreams of being seen can end anonymously among the dead. The Colosseum offers applause but not tenderness. The Lord Fool's corpse makes the entire Colosseum feel like an empty mask. The title remains, the trials continue. But the one at the centre is gone. Again, Hallownest shows a role after the person has vanished, a structure after the authority has died, a performance after the heart has stopped. The hive feels empty in a golden way. Unlike the crossroads or the city, the hive is not grey, rainy, or visibly ruined in the same way. It glows warm, its architecture is rounded, sealed, and purposeful. Its inhabitants defend it fiercely. Yet Queen Vesper is dead, appearing only in dream, and the hive knight guards a court whose living centre is gone. The hive is full of defenders, but empty of its queen. That creates a different loneliness. The hive did not open itself to Hallownest's roads. It remained separate with its own order. But separation did not save it from loss. The golden walls make the absence feel preserved rather than healed. The hive is like amber around grief, warm, beautiful, and still. Hive blood, the charm, carries this feeling. It slowly restores the most recently lost mask of health, suggesting resilience, collective endurance, and a different rhythm of healing. But it is found in a place marked by Vesper's absence. The charm feels like a whole culture condensed into a little object. Hallownest often lets charms carry what communities can no longer say aloud. Charms are one of the main reasons the kingdom feels empty and full at the same time. Every charm is useful, but many are also remnants. Shape of Un carries the old green dream of Un. Weaver Song carries the memory of the weavers who left Deepnest. Defender's crest carries Ogrim's identity in a comic and loyal form. Joni's blessing carries lifeblood from a peaceful grave. King's Soul carries royal union, and Void Heart changes that union by returning it to the abyss. Charms make absence wearable. At a bench, the knight chooses which histories to carry. That makes benches feel almost sacred. They are not only resting places, they are places of reconfiguration, where the little vessel sits still and becomes aligned with different fragments of the dead kingdom. A charm notch is a tiny hollow where memory fits. Relics work similarly, but they do not become part of their body. They become objects of study and exchange. Wanderers' journals suggest travellers who once wrote about their roots. Hallownest seals suggest official identity. King's idols suggest worship. Arcane eggs suggest ancient life before Hallownest. These objects make the world feel vast but also abandoned. They are proof that the kingdom once had writers, officials, worshippers, and older ancestors. Now the objects move through the hands of a silent wanderer and a solitary scholar. Simple keys deepen the feeling of withheld space. So many rooms remain locked. Gigi's cave, the royal waterways, the pleasure house, the Godseeker's cocoon. A small key can open recovery, filth, hidden luxury, or divine obsession. Hallownest's locked doors are not just puzzles, they are pockets of delayed absence. Behind each one is another way the kingdom failed to be ordinary. Confessor Gigi's room in Dirtmouth is a perfect example. Behind a simple locked door waits someone who can call the night's shade back in exchange for a rancid egg. The room is small and strange, connected to death, loss, and recovery. It gives Dirtmouth another layer, even above the kingdom, even beside Elderbug's quiet town. There is a hidden chamber for dealing with the shadow left after dying. Steel Soul Jin, in a harsher version of the journey, changes the meaning of that room. Where Gigi calls back a shade, Jin trades rancid eggs for Gio, because death has different rules there. The same place can contain different relationships to loss. Hallownest feels empty partly because many rooms seem to hold more than one possible sorrow. Tukin the Royal Waterways makes rancid eggs feel almost domestic. She lives in filth, sells them, and treats them as valuable. Most beings would see only rot. Tuk has made an economy around it. This is not a grand story, but it fills the lower kingdom with a strange kind of life. Even decay has residence. Even waste has trade. The emptiness of Hallownest is never simple absence. It is strange survival in places that should have been abandoned. Millabel's little betrayal also depends on emptiness. She offers a bank in a world where trust is scarce, then flees with the knight's Geo and hides in the pleasure house. It is comic, but it makes the kingdom feel less socially whole. Institutions no longer hold trust. A bank can be a scam. A house of pleasure can become a hiding place. Old forms remain, but their meanings are unstable. Eternal Emilitia is another remnant of the city's social emptiness. She lives sealed away in luxury and laughs, apparently insulated from the ruin that overtook most of the capital. She makes the city feel less like a single tragedy and more like a society with layers of privilege. The city is empty of its common life, but not empty of old inequalities. Some rooms preserve comfort while others preserve labour, filth, or death. The nailsmith's forge is one of the warmest working places in the city, and therefore one of the most poignant. He still practices his craft. He strengthens the knight's nail. He has purpose. But after forging the pure nail, he believes that purpose is complete and asks to be killed. His forge is full of work, but empty of a future until mercy gives him one. If spared, he can find Shio, and that changes the meaning of emptiness. A person can leave one role and enter another life. A weapon maker can become an artist's companion. This does not restore Hallownest, but it proves that not every empty future must remain empty. Small lives can still turn. Sheo's home in Greenpath feels like a refuge because it is full of colour and chosen quiet. He has moved from nail mastery to painting. Unlike many figures trapped by old duty, Shio seems to have found a way to continue without being consumed by what he used to be. His home feels empty of violence, and that emptiness is peaceful rather than sad. Hallownest's silence is not always tragic. Sometimes silence is what remains when a weapon has been set down. Mato's hut in the Howling Cliffs and Oro's hut in Kingdom's Edge show other forms of solitude. Mato is warm, eager for connection, ready to call the knight a brother. Oro is stern, isolated and transactional. Both are nail masters, both live near edges. Mastery seems to have scattered them. The arts remain, but the brotherhood is fractured. The knight can learn from each, carrying their techniques together in a way they themselves do not seem to live together. Sly reveals another kind of hidden fullness inside emptiness. He first appears as a rescued shopkeeper, then later as the great nail sage. His small shop in Dirtmouth is not just a shop. It is the hiding place of old mastery. Hallownest often makes people look smaller than their histories. That contributes to the empty feeling too. The world is full of reduced lives, people who once were more or could be more, living in diminished roles. Bretta's house in Dirtmouth is an empty house becoming full of longing. After rescue, she writes, imagines and attaches admiration first to the knight and later perhaps to Zote. Her return gives Dirtmouth life, but her loneliness fills the room in a fragile way. A town can gain a resident and still feel lonely if that resident is dreaming too hard into the silence. Zote makes emptiness noisy. His boasting, titles and self-importance fill the air, but they do not fill the deeper lack. He is almost the opposite of the knight, all voice, little true power. Yet his words feel like a shell of their own, a way of surviving by refusing to admit smallness. Hallownest has many masks. Zote's mask is language. Elderbug's comments on Zote, Bretta, Sly, the Grim Troop and other arrivals make Dirtmouth feel like a living place in miniature. He notices, he reacts, he worries. He is not simply standing there for atmosphere. He is the town's memory in the present tense. Without him, Dirtmouth would feel abandoned. With him, it feels abandoned by everyone else. The reason the opening descent works so well is that the knight falls from this small, lonely town into a much larger loneliness. The well is a transition from social emptiness to civilizational emptiness. Above, there are empty houses. Below, empty roads. Deeper still, empty palaces, empty stations, empty vessels, empty promises. King's Pass teaches this before the night reaches Dirtmouth. It is quiet, snowy or ash-like, broken and mostly unwelcoming. The old road into the kingdom is sealed by a stone door. The bridge has collapsed. Even the entrance is a ruin. Hallownest does not begin with a gate opening proudly. It begins with a barrier being broken by someone small enough to slip through history's cracks. Howling cliffs, above and beside the kingdom, feel like a place of discarded edges. There are corpses near the wasteland, Matto's lonely hut, Joni's repose, the stag nest, and the hidden nightmare lantern. The cliffs border the outside world, where bugs who leave Hallownest may lose the minds granted by the Pale King's influence. This makes the edge of the kingdom feel existentially empty. Outside is not simply freedom. Outside may be forgetting. That idea makes Hallownest's emptiness more tragic. The kingdom gave mind, memory and structure to many bugs. To leave its influence could mean losing that clarity. To stay meant risking infection, ruin, or being trapped inside the Pale King's failed eternity. Hallownest is empty partly because every direction carried danger. Inward to the plague, outward to forgetting, downward to the truth. The Pale King's promise of an eternal kingdom makes the emptiness especially sharp. A temporary kingdom falling is sad. An eternal kingdom falling is tragic in a different way, because the very promise becomes part of the ruin. Hallownest feels empty because it was built against emptiness. It was meant to last. It was meant to preserve mind, order, worship and civilization forever. Its failure leaves a silence shaped like arrogance. The Pale King himself disappears with the White Palace, abandoning the bugs of Hallownest as the kingdom falls. His absence is not just personal, it is structural. The centre of authority vanishes. The ruler who organised the response to the Radiance, who created the vessels, who asked the dreamers to sleep, who built the capital's myth of salvation, is gone. An empty throne is one of the oldest images of a failed kingdom, and Hallownest has one hidden in dream. The White Lady does not vanish in the same way, but she withdraws and binds herself. Her chamber is alive with roots but isolated. She is present, yet removed from the kingdom's daily suffering. The royal parents remain as absence and restraint, one gone into a hidden palace, one bound in a hidden garden. Their children fill the abyss. Their chosen child fills the black egg. Their kingdom fills with husks. The dreamer's masks on the black egg seal make absence visible. Each mask represents someone asleep elsewhere. When a seal is broken, a mask disappears. The door's symbols change as invisible sacrifices are undone. Hallownest often turns metaphysical absence into physical form. It lets the wanderer see that sleep in distant places is holding a door shut. The Hollow Knight's monument in the city and the Dreamer Memorial in the resting ground show how Hallownest tried to fill emptiness with official remembrance. Monuments give grief a public shape, but they also simplify. The Hollow Knight monument does not show the abyss. The Dreamer Memorial does not show Hera's bargain, Monomon's mask or Lurian's lonely tower. Public stone can preserve honour and hide pain at the same time. This is why the world feels so full of hidden rooms. Hallownest's public story is incomplete. To understand the emptiness, the knight must go behind walls, below floors, into dreams, beneath cities, and past locked doors. The kingdom's truth is not in its main roads alone. It is in what the roads avoid. Hidden walls make the emptiness active. A room may look finished, but behind it is another chamber, another corpse, another charm, another relic, another path. Hallownest feels empty on the surface, then reveals that the emptiness has pockets. The kingdom is not empty because there is nothing there. It is empty because so much of what is there has been sealed away, forgotten, or left without explanation. Cornifer's humming works against that feeling. It says, somewhere nearby, someone is making sense of this. But his maps are incomplete, and the night must fill them by walking. This makes mapping a gentle collaboration between curiosity and loneliness. The map begins blank because the kingdom no longer offers itself as a living place with guides and crowds. It must be redrawn from silence. The map pins sold by Iselda are small acts of care. Stag stations, benches, shops, hot springs, whispering routes, and other markers turn the unknown into something manageable. Yet the need for so many pins also reveals how empty the kingdom's social guidance has become. In a living city, one might ask directions. In Hallownest, one pins symbols to paper. Whispering roots are another beautiful form of lingering presence. They release essence when struck by the dream nail, and often appear in places connected to memory. Their whispered fragments suggest that the land itself remembers. This gives Hallownest a strange fullness under its emptiness. The people may be gone, but memory has grown into roots. The kingdom's silence is botanical, spiritual, and old. Essence itself makes emptiness visible as light. It rises from dreams, roots, and spirits, gathering into the dream nail. The seer asks for it, counts it, responds to it, and eventually dissolves into it. Essence is memory made collectible, but in the world it feels more sacred than simple currency. It is what remains when life has thinned into dream. Dream bosses deepen the feeling. Failed champion, lost kin, soul tyrant, white defender, and other dream forms show that defeat in the waking world is not the whole story. Something remains in memory, stronger, purer, more wounded, or more obsessive. Hallownest feels empty because the waking world is only one layer. Beneath or above it, dreams continue old conflicts in rooms no ordinary crowd can enter. Failed champion gives the false knight's stolen strength a dream afterimage. Soul tyrant shows the soul master's ambition refusing to rest. Lost kin gives broken vessel a more personal sorrow. White defender shows Ogrim's loyal memory in shining form. These dreams are not crowded public life, they are private echoes. The kingdom is empty of society, but full of unresolved selves. Godhome is the most extreme version of that. It gathers powers into worshipful combat, making old bosses into objects of attunement. Yet Godhome is not a restored Hallownest. It is a dream of strength built by beings hungry for gods. It shows that even memories can be extracted, arranged, and worshipped. The emptiness of the kingdom becomes material for another longing. The God-seeker's cocoon in the junk pit is especially striking because it places divine hunger in refuse. A being seeking gods lies hidden among discarded things below the royal waterways. This is very Hallownest. Holiness and trash, side by side. The kingdom's emptiness is not clean, it is full of leftovers. The junk pit itself feels like the bottom of forgotten utility. Broken objects, waste, water, and hidden divinity all gather there. A lesser story might put a god-seeker in a temple. Hallownest puts her in refuse. That choice makes the world feel older, stranger, and more honest. after collapse, sacred things do not always remain in sacred places. The lifeblood chambers add a quieter mystery. Blue cocoons and lifeblood masks suggest a power of preservation, health, and vitality that does not belong neatly to the pale king, radiance, void, or nightmare. Johnny's repose, the lifeblood door in the abyss, and the blue creature glimpsed in Godhome all imply a wider cosmos of powers. Hallownest feels empty not because it has no gods, but because many powers are present only as traces. Joni's repose is one of the few places where the emptiness feels peaceful rather than ruined. Blue butterflies, dark passages, and a resting spirit create a hush that is almost kind. But peace there is still built around a grave. The world offers calm, but the calm is posthumous. That is a recurring Hallownest feeling, serenity after life rather than during it. The Abyss Lifeblood door asks for many lifeblood masks to open, making vitality itself a key to a place of darkness. Behind it is a room that feels older and stranger than ordinary Hallownest. Again, the kingdom's emptiness expands rather than resolves. Every answer opens another sealed quiet. The Radiance's statue on Hallownest's crown creates emptiness through forgotten worship. A god can be forgotten but not gone. A statue can remain after a tribe turns away. The Radiance's memory lingered even when her worship faded, and that lingering became dangerous. Hallownest's emptiness is not only the absence of people, it is the absence of proper remembrance. Forgetting leaves a space, and something may burn inside that space later. The Moth tribe's absence is one of the largest cultural silences. They once worshipped the Radiance, then turned to the Pale King. By the time of the night's journey, the Seer is the last surviving Moth. That makes every moth-related place feel like the remnant of a vanished people. The Dream Nail, Essence, the Resting Grounds, and the Radiance herself are all tied to a cultural story that has nearly no living community left to hold it. The Radiance makes emptiness terrible because she tries to fill minds by force. Infection is not ordinary population. It is not society returning. It is memory as invasion. The orange light fills bodies while emptying selves. That is why infected rooms feel both crowded and vacant. There is movement, sound, aggression, swelling life, but the person has been overwritten. The Hollow Night was meant to be empty enough to contain that force forever. This is perhaps the deepest irony. The kingdom tried to solve destructive memory with perfect emptiness. No mind, no will, no voice. A living absence built to hold a forgotten god. Hallownest feels empty because emptiness was not only a result of collapse, it was part of the plan. The vessels in the abyss make that plan visible. Their masks fill the floor. Their small bodies never had ordinary homes, names, or futures. The chosen Hollow Night was lifted out. The rest remained. The kingdom above became empty, because the kingdom below had already been made into a place where children could be discarded as failed containers. That is why the emptiness of Hallownest is not just aesthetic, it is moral. The empty stations, the empty houses, the empty palace, the empty vessels, the empty promises, all speak to one another. A kingdom that tried to create a perfect hollow being became hollow itself. The word is not only in the title of the chosen child, it spreads backward and outward into roads, homes, monuments, and dreams, and still Hallownest's emptiness is not hopeless all the way down. There is Elderbug. There is the last stag discovering that he may not be the last. There is Cornifer humming in the dark. There is Iselda opening the shop. There is Sly returning. There is Bretta finding a house. There are grubs coming home. There is the nailsmith, if spared, finding colour with Sheo. There is the delicate flower reaching a grave. There is Ogrim laughing, even if the laughter is lonely. There are hot springs that heal without judgment. There are benches where a tired little body can rest. That is why the emptiness feels peaceful enough to sleep beside. It is not empty in a cruel, blank way. It is empty like an old church after the choir has left, like a station after the last train, like a house with dust in the rooms but a cup still on the table. The absence is specific. The silence is inhabited by memory. Hallownest does not feel empty because it has nothing. It feels empty because it has remains. It has roads without crowds. It has songs without audiences. It has kings without kingdoms. It has guards without orders. It has workers without selves. It has children without childhoods. It has gods without healthy worship. It has machines without society. It has maps because the living world no longer explains itself. It has dreams because waking life could not hold everything. It has benches because rest still matters after everything else has failed. That is the quiet truth at the centre of it. Hallownest is empty, but it is not meaningless. Every absence points somewhere. Every silence has a contour. Every abandoned room has an implied life. Every broken system remembers use, and every step the night takes through that emptiness turns it briefly into a path again. The endings of Hallownest make the emptiness feel even more deliberate. In the simplest ending, the night takes the place of the hollow night, becoming a new vessel for the infection. The black egg closes again. The old structure continues. This ending feels empty because it repeats containment without healing the cause. The temple is sealed, but the silence inside is not peace. It is another hidden suffering. In the sealed siblings ending, Hornet is trapped inside the black egg with the night, and the old pattern becomes even more sorrowful. The kingdom receives another seal, another prison, another figure caught in duty. The emptiness here is cyclical. A solution that looks stable from outside may be full of pain within. Hallownest has always been good at hiding suffering behind closed doors. Dream. No more changes the shape of that emptiness. The radiance can be confronted in dream, and the void can rise against her. This ending feels more like release than restoration. The infection can be ended at its source, but Hallownest does not suddenly become crowded again. The dead do not return. The city remains ruined. The abyss remains full of shells. The ending offers an end to a long pain, not a reversal of time. That is why the emptiness remains beautiful and sad even in victory. Godhome's endings complicate the emptiness again. The God-seekers gather strength, memory and divinity into dreamlike worship. The Shade Lord can emerge. Absolute radiance can be defeated. The delicate flower can change the outcome in a mysterious way. But none of this turns Hallownest back into a living kingdom. Instead, the ruins become the raw material for another spiritual hunger. Even after the main sorrow is addressed, someone else is still searching the emptiness for gods. The delicate flower's power in those endings is one of the strangest reminders that small pure things can matter in a world of vast absences. A flower meant for a grave can touch the fate of powers far beyond its size. This does not fill the kingdom, but it gives the emptiness a kind of tenderness. Hallownest is not saved by strength alone. Sometimes a fragile object carries a meaning that enormous beings cannot understand. The path of pain makes the White Palace feel empty in a very particular way. The route is full of motion, blades, saws and precision, but the emotional reward is a tiny memory. The Pale King and the young Hollow Knight stand together. There is no speech, no explanation, only a moment. The palace is full of danger, but empty of confession. The memory gives just enough warmth to make the whole vessel plan hurt more. Pure vessel in Godhome is another kind of absence. It shows the Hollow Knight as an ideal, unbroken, controlled, graceful and silent. That ideal form makes the actual Hollow Knight's suffering more visible. The difference between pure vessel and the chained Hollow Knight is the distance between what the Pale King wanted and what he made. Hallownest feels empty because its ideals remain after their consequences have become unbearable. The phrase often tied to the vessel plan, no mind to think, no will to break, no voice to cry suffering, is almost a definition of engineered emptiness. It describes the absence the Pale King wanted inside the chosen vessel, but the story shows that such absence could not save the kingdom cleanly. A plan built around removing mind, will and voice produced more suffering than it could contain. Hallownest is haunted by the attempt to make a child empty enough to be useful. The Dreamer's monuments make absence official. The memorial in the resting grounds honours their sacrifice, while the fountain in the city honours the Hollow Knight. Monuments are meant to keep memory alive, but in Hallownest they also reveal how much has been left out. Stone can remember sacrifice while hiding the bargaining, the discarded vessels, the imperfect seal, and the pain inside the black egg. Official memory fills public space, but it leaves private truth empty. The city storerooms add a small, practical kind of loneliness. A storeroom is meant to hold goods moving through a living city. In Hallownest, it becomes another station-like space, another place where things were stored for systems that no longer operate properly. Goods once moved toward the capital from across the kingdom. The capital received wealth, pilgrims, traffic, and attention. Now movement is broken into isolated paths, and the storerooms feel like an afterimage of trade. The great gate into the city from the fungal wastes is one of the strongest architectural expressions of emptiness. It opens once with the city crest, and then closes behind the night, forcing another way around. The capital is not welcoming. It is sealed, divided, and difficult to traverse. A city by nature should gather people. Hallownest's capital locks, redirects and isolates. The King's Station and the city storeroom Stag Station show two sides of the same lost network. One is grand and royal, one is more practical and connected to storage. Both can be reopened. Both feel like pieces of an old transit rhythm. The stations become meaningful not because they are full, but because they are almost empty and still answer a bell. The Queen Station has a softer emptiness. It sits between Green Path, Fog Canyon, fungal wastes, and the path toward the city. It feels like a place where travellers once rested, changed direction, and gathered themselves. Quirrell's presence there makes that feeling stronger. He sits and reflects, not as a ruler or warrior, but as another traveller in a station built for crossings. When he's gone later, that memory makes the station quieter. The Queen Station also shows that Hallownest's emptiness is not always cold. Some abandoned places remain cosy. A bench, a station bell, old rooms and Cornifer's maps nearby can make a ruin feel hospitable. But that hospitality is partial. It is like finding a warm lamp in a house whose family is gone. Comfort and absence can occupy the same room. The forgotten crossroads stag station is another early sign of connection returning to emptiness. Opening it lets the last stag come to a place that had been silent. The bell rings, and suddenly the ruins feel slightly less abandoned. But the small joy of that moment depends on the silence that came before it. Hallownest makes reconnection feel precious, because disconnection is everywhere. The stag bells themselves are melancholy objects. A bell is made to call and be answered. In the dead stations, bells hang in rooms that have not heard their proper rhythm in a long time. When the night rings one and the last stag comes, the sound seems to wake not only a route, but a memory of public life. One answer cannot fill all the silence, but it can prove the silence is not absolute. The trams do not answer in the same way. They respond to a pass, not a call. This makes them feel lonelier despite their usefulness. A stag carries memory in his voice. A tram carries only motion. The tramways show infrastructure without companionship, movement without conversation. They are perfect for Hallownest, a system still capable of travel, but empty of society. Crystal Peak's lift to Dirtmouth is another piece of broken vertical connection. Elderbug mentions mines and machinery above town, and many travellers once headed there. The lift can connect the surface to the mines, but like so much else, it is inactive until the right lever is found. Hallownest's routes are not simply blocked by enemies, they are asleep, locked, broken, or waiting for someone who knows how to wake them. The Lumaflay lantern is a small tool against emptiness. It lights dark places, the route to Crystal Peak, parts of Deep Nest, Joni's Repose, and other shadowed passages. Darkness in Hallownest is rarely just visual. It is social and historical too. The lantern does not explain the arc. It only lets the night move through it. That makes its light feel humble. It is not a sun. It is a purchased little mercy. Sly selling the Lumaflay lantern after being rescued makes that mercy depend on another recovery. A shopkeeper must return. Geo must be gathered. The lamp must be bought. Then darkness becomes navigable. Even practical light in Hallownest comes through a chain of small rescues and exchanges. The Crystal Heart changes emptiness into speed. Found in Crystal Peak, it lets the night launch across long gaps. Those long horizontal spaces feel abandoned before the ability is obtained, like distances the kingdom expects but cannot help you cross yet. With the Crystal Heart, the night becomes a little streak of force through empty corridors. Movement becomes the answer to a space that would otherwise remain blank. Monarch wings change vertical emptiness. Before them, high spaces are unreachable. Afterward, the night can rise again in mid-air. The ability is found in Ancient Basin after the broken vessel, which makes the joy of upward movement come from a sorrowful low place. Hallownest often gives freedom through grief. The empty height becomes reachable because the night passed through a fallen sibling. Mantis Claw changes walls. Before it, walls stop the night. Afterward, they become part of movement. Because it comes from Mantis Village, the ability feels like borrowing a piece of Mantis discipline. Hallownest's emptiness is full of surfaces waiting to become roads once the body learns how to read them. A wall is not empty if you have claws. Shadecloak changes the meaning of barriers most deeply. Shadow gates cannot be opened by force or key. They must be passed through by a being changed by void. These gates make emptiness into identity. Some spaces are empty only until the night becomes the kind of being that can enter them. Hallownest's map is therefore not just geography, it is a record of transformation. This is why backtracking feels emotional rather than merely practical. Returning to an old room with a new ability changes the past. A ledge that once meant no becomes yes. A wall becomes climbable. Acid becomes swimmable. Darkness becomes visible. Shadow becomes passable. The kingdom's emptiness slowly turns into possibility, but only because the night has been altered by what it found. Yet even when every path opens, Hallownest does not stop feeling empty. That is important. Completion does not fill the kingdom. It only lets the wanderer understand the shape of the absence. The map becomes more complete, but the world remains ruined. Knowledge fills paper, not houses. The map itself is a beautiful symbol of this. At first, rooms are blank until the knight sits at a bench and updates them. The kingdom exists before it is drawn, but the drawn map becomes proof of having passed through. It is an act of witnessing. Hallownest feels empty because it needs to be witnessed by someone almost as silent as itself. Cornifer's incomplete maps are hopeful because they begin that witnessing. Iselda's pins refine it. The knight's movement completes it. Cartography becomes a substitute for community. If no one is there to say where you are, the map must learn. The hot springs and benches form a second map, one made not of roots but of relief. These places are remembered because they interrupt loneliness. A bench near danger becomes a promise. A hot spring in the dark becomes a small pardon. Hallownest's emptiness would be harsher without these rests. They do not fill the kingdom, but they make survival feel less abandoned. The enemies who remain in Hallownest often make emptiness more intense because many are former citizens. Husk names carry old social roles. Cowardly husks, gluttonous husks, husk guards, husk warriors, husk miners. They imply personalities reduced to types. The kingdom is populated by roles after interior life has been lost. That is more haunting than a world of simple monsters. In the city, wealthy husks and cowardly husks suggest that even class remains as a shell. The rich and poor districts of the capital are mirrored by enemies whose former social identities linger in name and placement. Hallownest's emptiness does not erase hierarchy. It leaves hierarchy fossilized in architecture and bodies. In Crystal Peak, miners continue mining. In the Watcher's Spire, armors continue guarding. In the Colosseum, fighters continue fighting. In the waterways, flukes continue breeding. In the Hive, guards continue defending. In Dirtmouth, Elderbug continues waiting. The repetition of roles makes the kingdom feel abandoned by meaning rather than by motion. This kind of emptiness is why Hallownest can be peaceful for sleep despite its danger. The world moves slowly, its tragedies are old, its systems repeat, its rain falls continuously, its benches wait, its stations hum softly when reopened. Even its sorrow has rhythm, and rhythm when spoken gently can become rest. The sound design of Hallownest is part of the emptiness. Dirtmouth's wind, Cornifer's humming, the city rain, the distant stag bell, the wet noises of the waterways, the oppressive quiet of the abyss, the crystalline tones of Crystal Peak, the muffled organic dark of Deepnest. Each place has a sound, but often the sound emphasizes what is missing. There are few crowds, few conversations. Much of the kingdom is ambience around absence. Music enters carefully. The City of Tears theme feels mournful because it rises in a place that should be full of civic life and is not. Dirtmouth's theme feels safe because the town is small and above danger, but also lonely because it has so few residents. Greenpath's music feels alive, yet distant. The Resting Grounds feel sacred and final. Hallownest's music does not deny emptiness. It gives emptiness a voice. Silence itself is used like architecture. Some rooms are quiet in a way that makes the wanderer slow down. A corpse in a silent room means more than a corpse in a noisy one. A bench in silence feels like sanctuary. A locked door in silence feels like withheld memory. The world knows when not to speak. The night's own silence completes this feeling. A talkative hero might make Hallownest feel less empty by filling it with reaction. The night does not. It listens, moves, strikes, rests, and continues. Its silence lets the kingdom's silence remain central. The little vessel becomes a shape moving through absence rather than a voice explaining it away. Because the night does not speak, every other voice matters more. Elderbugs worry, Quirrell's reflections, Hornet's warnings, Cornifer's humming, Ogrim's laughter, Cloth's nervous courage, Myla's song, Marissa's ghostly performance, the seer's regret. Each voice becomes precious because voices are rare. Hallownest's emptiness turns dialogue into warmth. The deaths and departures of those voices are therefore felt strongly. Myla's song changes, Quirrell disappears, Cloth may die or leave, Seer dissolves into essence, Marissa can be released, Zima vanishes after the flower reaches the grave. The more the journey continues, the more some voices fade. The kingdom can become quieter as it is understood. That is another reason Hallownest feels empty. Progress can remove presence. Completing a story often means ending it. A rescued grief departs. A fulfilled purpose goes silent. A dreamer is released. A ghost is gone. The map may become fuller while the world becomes less populated by the figures who once spoke along the way. This is not a flaw in the feeling. It is the feeling. Hallownest is a place where understanding and loss are close together. To learn why the temple is sealed, the night must break the seals. To understand Quirrell, the night must reach the moment after which he disappears. To help Zoma, the night must complete the grief that lets her go. Knowledge fills the mind and empties the room. That is why the final shape of Hallownest is so melancholy. The wanderer may know almost everything, open almost every station, draw almost every room, collect almost every charm, release almost every ghost, and still the kingdom is not restored. It is understood, it is relieved, it is witnessed, but it remains a ruin, and perhaps that is why it is so memorable. A fuller world might be easier to leave. A busier kingdom might explain itself too loudly. Hallownest stays with the listener because its emptiness asks the imagination to move gently through what is missing. It lets the mind fill rooms with what might have been, while the facts of the world keep that imagining grounded in stone, rain, and loss. The emptiness is not blank. It is shaped. It is boarded houses in Dirtmouth. It is a bell waiting in a station. It is a king's corpse in a hidden palace. It is a queen bound among roots. It is a city under a lake. It is a song without an audience. It is a mine without a miner's self. It is a village that survived by losing a brother. It is a den after the weavers left. It is a grave waiting for a flower. It is a monument that does not tell the whole truth. It is an abyss full of children who are called vessels. It is a little night moving through all of it without a voice, and because it is shaped, it can be entered softly. The listener can walk through the emptiness without needing to repair it. The listener can rest there because the kingdom's grief is old, and tonight it is not asking for action. Only attention, only breath, only the willingness to let rain fall in the city no one can rebuild. There is also an emptiness in the way Hallownest handles ordinary homes. Many rooms are not dramatic at all. A small house in Dirtmouth, Gretta's little room, Sly's shop, Iselda's counter, the nailsmith's forge, Sheo's painted home, Meto's hut, Oro's lonely place in Kingdom's Edge. These are not temples, palaces or prisons. They are domestic spaces, and because they are rare, they feel precious. Most of Hallownest is too broken for ordinary living. When a room still feels like a home, it becomes a small resistance against the kingdom's larger emptiness. But even homes carry absence. Gretta's house fills with longing. Sly's shop hides a past life. Iselda's counter hints at a life of action set aside. The nailsmith's forge almost becomes the place where purpose ends. Sheo's home is peaceful because he left another life behind. Mato's warmth is shadowed by distance from his brothers. Oro's solitude feels self-chosen and wounded. Hallownest rarely gives a home without a history of leaving. The shops above and below the kingdom make the emptiness feel lived in rather than merely abandoned. Salubra sells charms with overwhelming delight. Legeater sells fragile charms in a lonely corner. Took sells rancid eggs in the waterways. Lem buys relics in the city. Each shop is a tiny economy surviving inside collapse. They make the world feel less dead, but also more strange. Commerce remains after civilization fails. Trade continues in charms, eggs, relics, maps, and small necessities, as if the kingdom's habits have narrowed into little islands. Salubra's shop is especially odd because her joy is so intense. Surrounded by danger and ruin, she loves charms with a fullness that almost overflows. Her blessing later follows the night at benches if every charm is gathered. It is funny but also revealing. A person can pour affection into objects when a world of people has grown thin. Charms become company. Collection becomes devotion. Legeater's fragile charms make survival feel nervous. Fragile heart, fragile greed, and fragile strength are powerful, but break when the night dies. They carry the fear of loss in their very names. In an empty kingdom, even strength can feel temporary. Even greed can shatter. Even the heart can break. Divine can make those charms unbreakable, but only through a strange consuming bargain which keeps the comfort from feeling clean. The small enemies of Hallownest also contribute to the emptiness because they rarely feel like invading monsters from somewhere else. Many seem native to the place: crawlers, flies, moss creatures, mushrooms, crystal workers, husks, bees, flukes. They belong to their regions. The kingdom is not empty because life disappeared entirely. It is empty because social life, remembered life, and self-aware life have thinned. Nature, instinct, infection, and habit remain. This difference matters. A completely lifeless Hallownest would feel like a tomb. Instead, it feels like a kingdom after personhood has leaked away. Things skitter, fly, bounce, burrow, and attack. Water drips. Crystals hum. Grass stirs. But the kind of life that would fill streets, stations, shops, theatres, and homes is mostly gone. The emptiness is not biological, it is civilizational. Even the infected orange growth is a kind of false fullness. It swells through rooms, blocks paths, animates bodies and fills dreams. Yet it does not make the kingdom feel alive in a healthy way. It fills space while emptying minds. That is one of the most frightening ideas in Hallownest. Something can spread everywhere and still leave the world emptier than before. The void below is the opposite. It does not spread like orange infection through the city. It waits, deep and black, in the place the kingdom tried to bury. Void is not empty in the sense of nothingness. It has weight, force, memory, and eventually unity. But from the perspective of the Pale King's order, it was the perfect material for absence. No voice, no will, no mind. The tragedy is that the darkness was never merely nothing. It was something the kingdom misunderstood. So Hallownest is caught between two false answers to emptiness. The radiance fills minds too much, burning selfhood away with remembered light. The Pale King tries to make a vessel empty enough to contain her. Too much presence, too much absence, infection and hollowness, light that invades, dark that is used. The kingdom breaks between them. This is why the quiet is so powerful. After all that force, all that light, all that planning, all that sealing, what remains is rain, stones, stations, benches, shells, and a silent night. The grand powers do not get the final emotional word. The emptiness does. And the emptiness is not only sad, it is spacious. It lets the listener breathe. It lets the music echo. It lets a bench feel holy. It lets a single voice, like elderbugs or quirrels or milers, matter more than it could in a crowded world. It lets the old kingdom become a place where grief can be walked through slowly. The reason Hallownest feels so empty, then, is not one reason. It is many layers resting together. It feels empty because the people are gone. It feels empty because many who remain are husks. It feels empty because systems still work without society. It feels empty because leaders sleep, hide, or died. It feels empty because old promises are still carved in stone. It feels empty because monuments remember simplified stories. It feels empty because roads were built for crowds and now carry one silent night. It feels empty because the deepest truth is a pit full of discarded children. It feels empty because even beauty remains after the lives that gave it context are gone. And it feels empty because the kingdom does not explain itself all at once. It lets silence do part of the telling. That silence is not a lack of story. It is the form the story takes. A boarded house is a sentence. A closed station is a sentence. A corpse beside a machine is a sentence. A bench in a dangerous room is a sentence. A nail left by a lake is a sentence. A monument above a hidden crime is a sentence. A city reigning under a lake is a sentence. A little old bug waiting in Dirtmouth is a sentence. Hallownest feels empty because it is written in absences. Now the thought can soften. You do not need to solve the kingdom tonight. You do not need to fill every empty room. You do not need to open every locked door. You do not need to wake every sleeping power. Just breathe. The well is far away now. The crossroads are quiet. Greenpath is breathing softly. The mushrooms have stopped bouncing in the dark. The mantises are still in their village. Deepnest is distant and folded in shadow. The city of tears keeps raining. The stagways sleep between bells. The trams sit cold on their tracks. The resting grounds hold their dreams. The Queen's gardens keep their thorns. The hive glows faintly behind its walls. The cliffs breathe wind. The basin lies low and still. The palace is hidden. The abyss is deep. The black egg is closed. Dirtmouth waits above. Elderbug stands near the well. The night sits on a bench. For once no road is asking to be taken. No station bell is asking to be rung. No toll machine is asking for geo. No seal is asking to be broken. No god is asking to be remembered. Only the quiet remains. Only the soft dark. Only the old kingdom, empty and beautiful, resting beneath stone. Let the map fold closed. Let the rain continue. Let the stag sleep. Let the little night rest. And let yourself rest too. Sleep well wherever you're listening from. Good night.